with us tonight that are, we'll be discussing some issues that'll be concerning to you, and hopefully we'll be able to figure things out. So the purpose of this is just our workshop. This isn't the official meeting yet, so there was no decisions or anything. It's just a workshop and information sort of a thing tonight, or during this meeting. And so what we thought we'd do is just kind of get started. We wanted to, let's see, Dustin's not here yet. Why don't we just jump to?
I can.
Can you deal with?
Yeah, I think
Okay. So let's
Okay, and then if
let's
you
do
want-
that then. Let's go ahead. We have discussion of proposed amendments to the city council's or the city's purchasing policy, authorizing department heads to make procurement decisions for purchasing new vehicles. Sean and Dustin, I guess, but Sean, why don't you go ahead and lead us off here?
Mark might join in too, because he's had some conversations with the chief. But essentially, the chief came and visited with me, and one of the issues that they're having currently is that it's getting hard to procure vehicles. He told me of an instance where he had a vehicle that met their needs, and he wanted to purchase it, but by the time council meeting came around, that vehicle was gone, and that's what he's seen or
It
experiencing.
surprises me, because if it's in their budget, they just buy it.
Well, that's what we're talking about. Yeah, so let's scroll down to that issue. You're right, Brett. That's really the crux of the issue. So currently the way, maybe scroll back up, or do you know where you're going?
If we pass the budget.
Okay, right there. Keep going up a little bit more. So the way that our purchasing policy, actually scroll down a little bit. I think you passed it. The way our purchasing policy is currently written is that that department heads have spending limits that they're allowed to sign a PO up to. But you'll note in that list of items, it says PO order type amount. It has vehicles regardless of the amount listed as the city council. And so what we would need to do to open it up, because Brett's right. I mean, once you appropriate the funds, usually department heads can move forward with the purchasing of it. But in this case, because our policy is more restrictive, or restricts this specific type of purchase, they can't. So if you would like to open it up, we would just amend that purchasing policy to, what I'd recommend is potentially vehicles, passenger vehicles, department heads could procure based upon the budget being appropriated, but, pieces of equipment, larger apparatus, street sweepers, dump trucks,
And things like that.
yeah, would come to the city council, if that seems more reasonable.
So what you're saying is if we budget, if Paul were to come to us and budget next year for a street sweeper at $300,000, I don't know how much,
Yeah.
and he found one for $300,000, purchase it without our approval, right?
Well,
Not big trucks.
no, that's what I was saying. Maybe that's a good division of anything above a passenger vehicle would come back to the city council. We could do it by an amount. We could do it by. It just seems appropriate that potentially the city council's aware of those types of purchases on the front end rather than in the rears and seen on the warrant register, for example. But obviously, that they're authorized to expend those funds. Or, you could amend it any way you see fit.
And, I
It just seems if we pass the budget on it, why are we?
well, that's kind of.
Is what it says now, right?
Yeah.
It sort of my, thinking is if we've approved the budget, but I can kind of understand the higher ticket items, but, in the case of vehicles, cars and pickups and things like that, I think the directors or the chiefs or they should have that ability
Right.
to make those purchases.
Well, maybe we said $100,000.
Whatever, yeah, you could set it at $100,000 or whatever, kind of a thing, but it seems like that's where we're, implied, we're giving, we're trusting that you're gonna make the right decisions and doing things like this, but I think Sean's point is well taken, that, larger ticket items would be nice to know on the front end what's going on, rather than seeing it in the warrant register, that kind of thing. So I
We
think
would
that's
make a
that's a
change to
reasonable
that
way to
line.
look at it.
Yeah.
Policy says now,
We would change it.
and we just need to change that to 100,000. Anything over 100,000 needs to come to us.
I think we need to be a little, and I think the vehicle needs to fall within the budgeted amount.
Right.
I think if it exceeds the budgeted amount, then I think
come
it needs
back.
to be approved. And so let's say the fire chief has 3 new trucks that he was going to buy at $200,000 or $70,000 a piece. But if they were coming in, he can only buy 2 for the, you see what I mean? We need to be careful not to play that game. And so I think it needs to fall within the budgeted amount for each vehicle.
Okay.
And then if it does, then I don't know why we need to, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, we should trust them.
That's how I see it as well.
Okay. So I think that's helpful. So what I'll do is I'll prepare an amendment, and we'll show you the specific language for your consideration at the next city council meeting.
Very good.
Great.
Okay.
Is that kind of what you were thinking?
It was, yes. Yeah, I appreciate it. I think that's the right
What do you guys
approach.
think, Con-
Oh,
Connie?
absolutely. I agree completely.
Me too. Whether it's a dollar figure, I mean, we know right now the cops are looking for 4 vehicles, and we give them X amount, If they come back and say, you know what, we need 20,000 more, they went up $5,000,
Then they
You
can
talked
come to the
about
then they
city.
can come.
Okay. Everybody's good with that? Okay, item number 2, discussion of secondary water charges for Spring Acres Development Group. Ricky, and I guess Paul, have you got sort of
Well, I just hear for
answer any
questions.
questions and
Yeah.
that kind of thing? Okay, go ahead, Ricky. Why don't you come up here and address us there?
Sometimes the battery dies. So we might-
Oh,
Yeah, we just came to the city, a couple weeks ago, just talking about the bill. And our concern was, when we put that project in, we only had 1 hookup. We actually were planning on 2 hookups, but because you can't meter 2 things on the same end, we just used 1. And how we were originally planning on it being done was just as the houses were being built, that they would be tagged on to that 1 meter. At the time, we didn't know they were gonna put meters in, or it was all just hookups. And so, based on that, that's kind of what we were planning on. And we built the system kind of to where we could share zones, watering zones, because there's not that much lawn. And so rather than having separate zones in each one, we could save more water by just combining it all together. Our concern was our bill is being billed at the tier 5, and based on the amount of houses that we have up there, we've never exceeded, if you separate it out per house, tier 1, and that's including using the water for construction or whatever we've had to use extra, and also watering our commons area and all that. And so that was our hope, that we could possibly make some type of a revision on the billing in that particular area.
Lindsay, can you pull up Spring Acres just to show? Yeah.
Can I
Yeah,
make
oh,
a
sure.
comment?
Absolutely.
I've had, many of your, the residents that live there that have contacted me, and I have to comment that they have been delightful to talk to. As I read through the minutes of December, I think it was 2014, was one of the minutes that I read through. At that time in 2014, there was, of course, talk of secondary water, even though we didn't have secondary water yet, but there was talk of it. And you made a comment, according to the notes, that you thought it would be beneficial to those individuals who live there to have secondary water, which you were very wise to say that. I drove up, I've been up there several times. I went up today. I drove it around a couple of times so that I could see it. Beautiful. The lawns are immaculate. They look alike. If each person had their own secondary meter, and these individuals that live there or citizens are 55 or older, and I would think that they appreciate the fact that they can come and live there without lots of taking care of, lots of work and taking care of their yard. But I do appreciate the fact that Tier 5 or Tier 4, whichever it's being billed at now, it's a lot. And I was concerned about it. When I heard about it, I was like, this is a lot. But I think that something's been worked out. You have a son named Blake.
Yes, he's right here.
And I think there's been some collaboration and some efforts to do a win-win. Am I right?
Well, they've talked about putting in more meters, and the only problem I have with the more meters, where we have a 2-inch line that's metered, to put meters after that, then your water would be metered twice, and that would be kind of hard to do.
Okay.
Well, how we'd have to do it is the 2-inch would become an open line, and then you just have meters that metered different zone areas of your development.
Similar to,
2-inch meter, I discussed with Blake, if we looked at the sprinkler plan, you could break it up to where, the 2-inch meter would go away. You'd have your filter there and then a straight pipe, and then have other meters on every area. And maybe as you further develop, you can add better meter for coverage, and divide it up that way. And then how it would be billed is you still be billed on usage through each individual meters, and that meter would be charged a $10 base fee per meter, and then usage for that meter. And that would break it up to where maybe you'd be in the lower tiers.
I think the lower of the tiers was one of the major issues, right?
It is. I don't know. I look at the effort in doing that, and the work in doing that, and wonder what the results as far as, it's going to take quite a bit of work now to tear into the lawns and put those meters in. They aren't going to be in the mow strip area, probably.
And as I mentioned to Blake, we have meters that aren't on the public property. Usually how it is, the infrastructure belongs to the property owner, and we own the meter. They're all radio-controlled meters, so it's not like someone has to go on there monthly and read the meter. They're read.
We do have, it takes, 3 houses will go on one zone. And so I have 3 houses that are in a manifold that can cover one zone. So I'd have to really do that separately per house, you'd have to disassemble the manifolds, and it's not just an easy type of problem to do.
Well-
And so, that's,
I mean, as I mentioned before, our biggest issue is you're an HOA and it's set up as an HOA, and that's how the HOAs are treated. They usually have 1 meter. I mean, when we talk about the townhomes, all over the town. That's how they're done. And that was an election made when the development went in, was just to put, and in the minutes, you'll see that it was discussed putting lines in the street, and it was mentioned that you really didn't want to, because at the time, we couldn't guarantee that, we had water in the area, but it was in a lower, that we'd have enough pressure and volume to that.
Right.
Since you've proved to us that we have plenty, and the people even higher, they just designed their sprinklers systems for that little bit lower pressure than what we have. So everything has worked out as far as being able to provide the water. But that was an election of the development, was not to put in a standard system. And as I mentioned to Sean, if we change, we need to change, this would have to be changed for all the HOAs, apartments, any multi-unit complex would have to make it fair. If we change for one, we gotta treat everybody fair and equal.
You can go up there, or you can sit right there by the microphone if you want.
My question was, is there a difference though with HOAs that started before the metering and before?
No, because we've added more fourplex complexes, say, down in the River Valley area, because there's several fourplexes that, they were there before we had secondary, they were there when it was
And they've been metered the same, yeah.
being, because, and yes, it's the fair way to sell the water, but it was mandated by our state government to meter secondary water.
I guess the only thing that I say is that particular, up there at the spring, or development there, they aren't multi-units. They are single
Well,
dwelling
each
units.
townhome is a single, because each townhome owns the property that they're
But I
taxing.
mean, there's two, they're like a townhome, is there two on it? Two people
There
in
could
it?
be, usually how townhomes work, they have an individual meter per unit for their indoor watering. But then they have an HOA that takes care of some of the snow removal, takes care of the lawns and grass areas.
I guess the thing that we were going to the council for is the idea of being able to go ahead and charge none of the people want to get money or get water for free, or they want to pay what they owe on it. It's just right now, we're using less than tier 1 rate and being paid tier 5.
Do you have, is the HOA paying the water bill, or is each individual family paying it?
Right now, the HOA is.
Do you have separate lines going to each house?
No,
No.
So you have
no,
one zone that covers 4 homes, or 3
3,
homes.
yeah.
And I realize we work, but isn't it us that goes and puts the meters in?
We wouldn't be digging on private property. We install
They would be
the
responsible
meter,
to do
but
that.
we wouldn't put the infrastructure in.
And do you have manifolds that go off to these different ones?
Yeah,
Could all
yeah,
the meters just be put at the manifold?
that's what it is right now. We only have one meter.
Right, but you have to have zones that are running off to different areas, right? I don't know what your layout is, but it seems to me if you have one manifold, you could put you could hook up to each zone going out one of the meters.
You could, I mean, yes, other than you gotta buy a new manifold, it's gonna take, now, the space that it takes to do that is probably double the amount of space.
Is that in
It's
the
just
ground?
quite a bit, pardon?
Is that in the ground?
Yes, yeah, it's all on the ground and it's landscaped. I mean, and I guess the worry I would have, it's hard to put it in the new system, because there's about 15 houses that aren't built up there, and you really can't just meter those 15 houses and not, because the main line comes in, feeds those new houses too, and so you couldn't you'd have to, if you went a separate meter system, it'd have to be to every one, and that's just gonna be, it's kind of costly, plus it's gonna look a mess. I mean, it's gonna look a mess to go out there and tear it up again and do that. When one meter, the city, I mean, if they can look at that situation and put the billing some way different to where you can come up with the tiered level, because we'll never get out of the five, the tier 5.
Pull up that bill. I kind of did
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
over the last 3 years worth of readings to see if it was broken down that way. And there's the difference.
Can you walk us through that, Paul, a little?
Yeah.
Well, if you
Zoom in, can you zoom in, Lindsay, to the
first-
2 columns?
You got 2021, 2022, and 23 at the time. And so what I did is show the usage, the total usage, right there in that first column, the number of units that they serve, which at this time, I don't know when they went to 18 homes, I just had to use that number as 18 homes. And then break it down there, usage per unit, if you divided the total usage by the 18 homes, you can see in that next column, the first row, 2,700 gallons per home, which would equal $3.49, plus a $10 base fee we charge. And so that home would pay $13.49 a month. You add it all up as 18, that's $242. Well, the actual bill in 21 for that month was $83.
Per unit?
No.
Or is that total?
That's a total bill. That was the actual bill. And you can just follow it down, depending on the usage, how it drives them up into the tiers.
But I noticed it really good, when we raised our rates, scroll down if you would.
Well, these are using the same $1.25 per thousand, and,
Usage was higher.
and then when you go to a second tier, and so this is just using the same comparison. Now, I didn't break up the total use down into tiers. I just already had the actual bill, and I just went off what their actual bill was.
So the cost per home in 2023, that last month,
Yeah, and I don't know, for some reason, there wasn't a reading in July. Now, maybe Ricky remembers, I found a leak up there, someone called me, and I don't know if that's when that big bill was, but they had a water line that was an 1.5 inch line that was just shooting wide open, and it was hitting, and someone called me on it. I went up there and found it, because we was afraid it was gonna wash that
I appreciate that too. I was out of town and I got a phone call.
tier.
on that one,
I
so-
mean, because it is landscaped and rocked, and I was afraid it would give away that wall if it got too wet. And so we shut it down. I let Ricky know that we found this leak and that a fitting just had come off. And I don't know if that's what drove the usage up that month. Won't know until this month what the usage went down, but that's what it drove it up to.
I
Because
saw that
normally
and
they
I
haven't been,
wondered.
their high was $900 one month way back in '22.
And that's kind of the concern is when, right now, there's 18 homes, when we get to 34, it's gonna be billed at the same rate at just a much higher usage. And so that's what we're trying to preempt. right?
But you're still building those, right?
Yes.
So
You
can
have-
change your plan to just do individual lines to each one?
Not the way it is, we'd have to put a different whole line in. I mean, you'd have to put a new line out in the street.
But you have 34 possible lots there. Yeah,
The hard thing I have is when we put the system in, we made it to where rather than it being separate sprinklers system for zones, where the houses and the lawn shares, they don't share the sprinkling. It's all, so instead of this neighbor sprinkling next to the neighbor, they're together. And so that, it saves a little bit on water, is what it does, because you're not sprinkling two different zones and two different people. And that, and it saves on blowing the lines out.
Well, it saves you on heads because you use one head to do 2 lawns, where
Right.
before you do a half circle head. So it's gonna use probably similar to the same amount of water,
If it's
because
regulated right.
Yeah.
You're right, I don't.
it's gonna save on the heads.
It's gonna take them HOA though, double probably are triple when you go out blowing them out.
Yeah,
The cost to blow it all out.
because you have more zones to blow out.
A lot more zones and a lot more, and that's what we were trying to save on the, for that.
Does the HOA, let's see, where was I gonna go with that? Oh, does the HOA take care of the sprinklers too?
Yes. So when one does, and that was the people bought up there because.
So they
didn't
wouldn't
take
have
care
to.
of it,
Correct, correct.
Or they didn't want to live where somebody didn't take care of the sprinklers. They wanted to have their place nice and have a neighbor that didn't have their place nice.
Right.
Exactly.
And so doing the separate thing, it's somewhat taking that away.
Exactly.
That's
It
what.
does
that's
take
what
it away.
HOAs are. My parents was one in St. George, same thing. My mother-in-law was in Centennial Estates, and it was at the end of every water season that they had to go back in and say the water went up $200, so we got to have $10 more from all the HOAs so that it equals out. I'm sure they're on tiered levels too.
Had we known that there would have been metered, we probably would have did it different. We probably would have did it to where we took 3 or 4 houses, for 1 meter or whatever, but
But then you'd have still paid it, right?
it would have still paid, yeah, it would still be more, but, so what we're trying to do is change the policy for that particular area to have the billing accordingly to whatever we can work out to be fair. Because right now, if you divide it up into homes, they're at tier level 1, and not even high into the tier level 1. But because they're being all.
All together.
as one,
Uh-huh.
we're doing tier 5. That's where our issue is. And
Paul,
the
if you were
city
to-
can't
If you were to
change their
compare
policy.
Well, and
Tier 5 to Tier 1, what would be the difference?
I mean, this shows you the difference. I don't know that they're in tier 5. I don't know. I haven't run the numbers.
Tier 5 is as high as it goes.
It is because after 120,000 gallons, you'd be in the upper tier. So, yeah. So, I mean,
So our
You see-
gallon usage there, yeah, 191,000.
yeah.
But then you have that huge jump, which is the leak. When I saw that
After this
729,
month's reading, we'll know, and we have made adjustments for people that had a leak,
sure,
and we found it, but
You gotta take in consideration too, a lot of this numbers were watering down our road when we were building the road too. Because we were using that water for,
oh,
but I still had to account for it to the
Right.
canal company.
sure,
So
sure,
Believe me, I get 0 drops of water for free from the canal company.
Yeah.
that's correct.
I have to have a share for every drop of water we pump.
what I'm trying to say though is, these aren't accurate numbers for watering the lawn only.
Correct, correct.
This year, we have not used any for construction. We basically, because the roads are in, so we haven't had to use it for any road construction.
Let me say
So
this. Let me
are
say,
you charging the homeowners for that? For the water you're using for road construction?
Oh, the developers has paid the bill totally up to now. Homeowners haven't paid anything yet on it.
so, like I say, I'm a proponent in this for not just Spring Acres, I mean, or, the Legends community. I honestly think the city should look at it differently at all these other places, and we can't compare ourselves to apartment complexes. We don't have homeowners there. I think there should be a difference on owned property. And if there is a single meter, then divide it by the owned properties. And again, that's just my viewpoint. I can be biased, but if you look at it if we say we put in meters to every house in there, right? I mean, that's a cost to the city that's pretty expensive to put all those meters in, the cost of every one of those meters.
Originally, it was 0 though.
But it's the fair way to bill. We put meters in so that the single widow lady isn't paying for the guy that has a nice huge lawn. That's why we put meters in, is because it's the
But
fair
then tie
way.
in the
to
HOA,
build.
tie in the HOA, because it's not the fair way, because they're still having to pay for all the shared grounds there too, right? It's not just their house. Their house is gonna be a tiny little dent in any
Well, I mean,
water. You
this
know
is
their
it.
house is gonna be a tiny dent in any water use.
This isn't my discussion.
I
mean,
understand that, but you are the one that keeps saying that,
Yeah, because you are an HOA.
right, and I'm
Just like-
I'm saying that there's the HOA.
Just like the Aspen Ridge Townhomes. They are an HOA.
No, I agree 100%. We should look at that one too, see how that one's set up.
But they're all part of a multi-unit complex that uses shared water. I mean, maybe they are different from an apartment complex.
I'm just looking at it like,
But-
you know, again, if we had all those meters in there, it's a pretty big cost to the city to put all those meters in there. I know you say they're free, but
Well, originally they were free.
free where?
Well, they were free to my house.
They were free for you. They weren't free for the city. The city had to pay for them. That's what I'm saying is
Oh, okay.
the actual infrastructure cost to the city. You know, kind of what, you know, Ricky's kind of getting at is that we're where we're at. And honestly, I kind of look at it like, well, you guys are gonna do what you're gonna do. And the HOA is just gonna have to, you know, raise their rate, you know, what they have to pay for that HOA rate. And so we're just here as proponents to trying to save those people money, and be fair in doing it. And I don't think that you know, again, if you look at it from the amount of homes that are owned in that area based on that single meter, I just don't think that it should be, I really think that's a reasonable request. And again, that's up to you guys. I would love for you to look at the other areas in town and separate apartments from, you know, single-owned dwellings or townhouses or whatever, but that's all we can ask, so.
And that's how I see it too, is had we known water would be tiered and metered at the time, we would have done it differently. I mean, moving forward, we can do it differently, and we, to do whatever it is, but we're in a situation now where we're trying to just make the best of where we are when we did it. I mean, these lines were put in 2014 or 15, and we did the whole thing, you know, that's a little bit of the history behind that, is we did the whole loop and, you know, prior to this.
To the
thinking
state
we were good.
mandating metering,
Right,
and I
right,
get that,
right.
and I understand the reasoning behind it, but we didn't come into this, you know, trying to use a bunch of water, you know? We have these giant walking paths that are 30 feet wide that we would have much rather sold more properties, but we did it the way that the city wanted it, and it looks awesome, it really does, it looks awesome up there. But we've been trying to xeriscape it as much as we can, so.
Now, we have had different homeowners be concerned because there is, some of the grass areas are smaller than some others. And we could actually measure out each grass area for each house and put that in a pie ratio, and they could actually pay less. I mean, that gets kind of nitpicky because some of those areas have bigger driveways. So we could actually say, okay, well, when we go snow removal, you
Sure.
gotta pay more. So
Sure.
It's a little bit
Sure,
nickel dime stuff.
sure.
But as far as dividing it out evenly, that could be done without separate meters on each individual house. The only problem we have is with the 1 meter, we're never gonna get out of the tier 5.
And again, I think our request is just for you guys to look at it with an open mind and to look and see what's fair, because it's up to you guys to decide what's fair.
I don't
You know,
think,
you can listen to me or Rick or Paul, you know, and it is what it is, but you guys decide what you think is fair, so.
Well, and I think it's fair to say too, that this isn't just about you.
Oh, it is definitely not.
It isn't. I've been up to Aspen Ridge, and their situation is similar in that those individuals have a fairly smaller than what you have for sure, small little piece of grass, and 1 meter, okay? I went to Matheson, and I know Matheson's apartments, I know it's different, but you know, it's still the same type of concept. And they have 1 meter, and that cost is, and, you know, there's not a ton of grass around there, but they've got a pool, they've got, you know, that has nothing to do with secondary. But I guess what I'm saying is it would require us, if we're talking about the word fair, then we need to change it for the entire town, city of Tremonton.
Acres at all. I am here for
I know that, and I appreciate,
exactly, that's
Yep.
my point.
yep,
You're not gonna change it for us, don't
Yep.
don't change it for anybody.
yep.
Yeah.
But I do understand, in fact, I spent some time in Shari's office the last week or so, you know, so here's what your bill is a month.
Yeah.
And if you were to divide it up amongst 18 people, and you're not being nitpicky about, well, she has this much, and, you know, it all comes out in the end, and they live in this beautiful community, and none of them want to necessarily do yard work, and I'm thrilled for them, you know, but was it $30, $29 and some odd cents? If they paid that amount all year, so 12 months, they paid less than $30. I'm going to tell you, that's a steal. And to have lawns that are all uniform and beautiful, I pay $10 myself personally. I have less than a half an acre, a third of an acre, and I pay the $10 because I have a well. But I pay that $10. I'm happy to pay that $10. But these individuals are not paying that $10. They're only paying for the water, the usage that they have, period. So as I talk to some of your,
So yeah, and
so as I talk to some of the people that live there,
Yeah.
and I explained that to them, this is what this is about. This is about less than $30.
yeah.
They're like, oh, really? I mean, that was how they sounded to me. However, I do understand the 5 versus the 1. I get it. And they're all individuals, and why should they have to pay twice as much per 1,000 gallons? That's what it's about.
It just kind of defeats the purpose of what we did up there by paying the fine. That's my letdown on the project, really.
And just because it was set up that way originally doesn't mean it was right. I mean,
Right.
that's all I'm saying. It's just,
How are you going to deal with the other 18 or 15 or 18 homes? Are you going to put another, is it going to all be on a 2-inch line? You're going to water that whole thing on 2 inches?
Planned on to be all on a 2-inch line, yeah. That we've got going around, and they do have to adjust the watering so that you can't have 5 going at one time, you know, you gotta have
On time, it's on a timer.
all on. But by having one person take care of that, they can do that.
Yeah.
And you know what I think it's fair too, as I was up there looking around, I really loved how you kind of have a little placard, this is gonna be the home of so-and-so, you know, and you've got this sign, and it's kind of cool. And I know many of those people are dear friends of mine, and so I think it's also equally important for us to put ourselves living there. As a council member, if I was living there, what would I want done? What would I want done? And consider all the places that are similar to this, and that's the decision we have to make.
Now, the homeowners are concerned that they don't come down with some requirement, let's say they have to sell they sell their home, that they've got to have a secondary meter. Because the system right now, it's pretty tough to put a secondary meter on a single house like that. So that's a concern that they have, that I can't sell my house because I can't.
I've got to have a meter too. Yeah, I don't know that that's really part of the discussion at this point. I think I don't think that's part of the discussion. I think that, how many acres of green space do you have in that area right there? Is there an acre
I don't.
of green space? Okay.
I don't know, we have to figure out
there was a long strip of grass that kind of went behind the homes.
Common area
That
there,
was a
isn't
common,
it?
okay. And I could see where you're going to have your rec center, or not a rec center, but clubhouse.
And then there'll be another long section of grass on the other side of that other.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's all the commons area type grass there is. And I haven't got that figured out as far as acreage.
Okay, well, I was just curious, you know, what you were kind of looking at there, but,
Anyway,
okay, well, Rick, thank you, thanks all of you
Appreciate
for
it.
your comments.
A lot better
No, that was
presentation.
great.
You guys did great. You did great, thank you. We'll give it some good hard thought and everything. We may be getting back with you on that. Thank you. Okay. Okay, item number 3, discussion on ideas for beautifying or beautification of the city. So here, a little while ago, we got a letter from,
Did you have some handouts or something you wanted to share with us?
We can if you want. It's,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, you've got some stuff for us. That'll be great.
yeah, it's just pictures of the lawns basically and just kind of I mean, again, the whole purpose of this was just to see what our options are and see what, I mean, I think everybody wants to work through this and let's just figure out what the options are. But
Perfect.
here's, I don't know, here's handouts if.
Okay.
Sure, yeah.
yeah.
And again, just pictures of the lawn and just
Yeah.
kind of some of the same historical usages. That's about it.
Okay, thanks, Blake.
You want us at the 7 o'clock?
It's not on the session, it's not on the policy session. This is just a work session. so
Just a
Yeah.
work session
Yeah.
tonight, so, yeah.
Probably eventually, but.
Thank you. Here a while back, I got a letter from a citizen here in the city that was concerned about maybe some of the, some of the homes and yards around town and everything, and she was concerned about things and could we do anything about it? And it sort of raised this discussion or this idea of maybe we can be doing some things that rather than sort of, coming down hard-handed about something, maybe we can do some positive sort of things that would be encouraging people to do a better job of, some people, not everybody, it's just some. People that are doing a little better job of maybe taking care of things, and maybe there's ways that people can volunteer to help if there's a individual who is, can't get out and can't get out and work with their yard very good, and they're laid up a little bit. Maybe we can kind of help them out. Anyway, we just sort of had this discussion, and so thought it'd be a good idea to just maybe kind of come up with some ideas and maybe just kind of give some thought to this. What if we went ahead and sort of recognized, areas that are city or homes that are, these people are, doing a great job, or these people, at one point, their yard was pretty rough, but they decided to fix it up, and it looks pretty good now. And we just sort of recognize the positive and then we have some sort of maybe we have sort of a recognition that we can do on the website or do whatever, but, and anyway, these are just ideas. I don't know, Connie, if you've got some ideas to go along with that, but that just sort of maybe to kind of get the discussion going a little bit and see what y'all think.
Yeah, it was really it was a really good thing to ride around Tremonton and look at the beautiful place that we live. And there are certain homes that definitely need some help. And we have departments in our city that can help us with code enforcement if necessary. But our major concern here is health and safety. And beautification is important as well, but more than anything, it has to do with health and safety. And so some ideas that that I visited with the mayor about is we have several companies in our valley who are willing to step forward and sponsor awards for our city. So let's say that we decided that we were going to focus on the positive. And so we're looking at people's yards, and I can name some yards that have done a beautiful job dryscaping their yard. It's amazing. And that's an opportunity for the city council and for the whole town of Tremont to recognize that yard. Wow. And then we have these companies come out and help us with awarding, or they've offered to donate some money to help us to appropriately or to award these individuals for their efforts. There are people who have just gone out of their way to make their yard look beautiful and make it a safer place. So we could have best yard, we could, and instead of saying, could you just clean up your yard? We could say, we just want to have things kind of turn around. This is about turning around. This isn't about pointing a finger this is about turning your neighborhood around. And we have an opportunity to do that. There are certain neighborhoods that I've kind of focused on in the last month. And today I drove around to see if those individuals had made any attempts to clean up their yard. And they had. And so as a city council, we now have an opportunity to send them a letter and say, thank you for turning things around. We appreciate your efforts in making our community more healthy, more safe, and even more beautiful. And so as I visited with the mayor about this issue, it's really easy to come down hard and to point a finger, but I think as a city, we're going to be much further ahead as we accentuate the positive. So I would motion, or I would suggest that we're already going to start it, because there are people that have cleaned up their yards at our request, have done a nice job, and then our part as the council is to send them a letter stating how much we appreciate their efforts.
Yeah.
And whatever we need to do so that those individuals recognize that we really appreciate having a community that looks like this. So that's what I would propose, and that would be the idea, that instead of complaining, that we offer solutions. And maybe even as neighborhoods, if you have a neighbor who isn't able to take care of their yard or whatever, that we take, as citizens of Tremont City, we take responsibility as a neighborhood to help that neighbor. Because what we found out is there are whys. There's reasons why people don't take care of their yard. And so we can help them at that time when they really can't do it. At times they can't. So Mayor, is that?
That pretty
That-
well, yeah.
that cover it?
Great job. And so this is just a discussion and something that I think as like I said, we wanted to kind of get ideas from what you think. What are you thinking about this? And are there ways that we can maybe encourage people to try to keep things up a little bit better than maybe some of them are? And, but there's also lots of positive too, so.
I think the positive is a good approach. I walked through our neighborhood today, and I thought about this. And I've got 5 or 6 homes in my neighborhood that have weeds growing everywhere in their yards, okay? I'm not going to approach them and ask them to do something with their yard, because I have no right to do that. You know what I mean? I don't feel I have a right. It's not a safety issue or a fire issue or anything like that. But and I think offering a program like this is awesome, but I don't think it's going to change them.
Well, and it may
really
not.
don't.
It very well may not, but it may change some, and so I think that's, the idea is that we maybe make a little effort to,
I like the positive approach. I really do. That never hurts. and
Well, and a voice
recognizing.
of thanks
Yeah.
for when someone, we have infractions that happen and our police department help us with those. But for us to express thanks for them being part of a solution, I think is important.
Yeah, there you go.
But I don't know any other way that we can,
Oh, you're right.
how can
I
you
mean,
set a standard that you,
The
we
only
don't,
issue, the only issue is, we can't, it's just got to be a positive encouragement sort of a thing, but there are times when it becomes a safety issue and a hazard and those kind of issues, we can deal with those, those kinds of things we can deal with, but mostly it's just trying to be a good example and encourage people to do a better job. Anyway, that's sort of the discussion there. Let's see. I'm just trying to go through here real quick on the agenda. Is there anything that we need to?
The school district's here, for sure.
What's that?
The school district is here.
Oh, good. Thank you. Glad you're here. Why don't we just take a little break here? We'll start again. Try to start a little early, maybe on time, possibly.
On time, that's a good time to start, Mayor.
On time?
On time's a good time to start.
Need to Make it quick. get started. We'd like to welcome, let's see, let me make sure we're all here. We'd like to welcome you all here with us this evening to our city council meeting. Great to have you here. I've asked, we'll have an opening ceremony. We have an opening prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And I've asked Connie Archibald if she would give us an opening prayer, and Sarah Mormon if she'd lead us in the pledge. We'll go to that point.
Our Father in heaven, we approach thee this night so grateful for all that we have. We're grateful to live in this beautiful valley. We're thankful for our neighbors. So grateful for city employees that see to our safety and our health. We are grateful, Father, for an opportunity to meet tonight and to collaborate and to strive to be better. We are thankful for those that are with us tonight that will present. We pray for them that they might be able to share those points that we need to understand as a city and as council members and as citizens. We are grateful for all the blessings that we do enjoy, and we pray that the Spirit might be in this meeting tonight, that we might deliberate well and that we might be kind as we do so. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to most of us have been here before and are regulars, but I'd just like to go through and introduce everybody for those of you who may not know us all. Over to my left over here, we have our city manager, Sean Warnke, Councilmember Wes Eastep, Councilwoman Connie Archibald. Lyle Vance has been asked to be excused for this evening. To my right here, we have Brett Rohde, Councilmember Brett Rohde, and Councilmember Rick Siemens. Our recorder, Lindsay Nessen, Mark Christensen, our assistant city manager, Paul Fulgham, who was here just a little while ago and asked to be excused. He had another meeting he had to rush off to. Dustin, are you here with it? Maybe Dustin's must be busy. Brady Hanson. Well, okay, Brady, you got to stand up. We got to introduce you. This is Brady Hanson. He is our brand new fire chief. We're thrilled to have him on board with us, and anyway, we're just glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thanks for everything you do and have done while you've been here. Let's see. Sarah Mormon, who is our Main Street manager. So we'd like to welcome all of. We're grateful for everybody who makes this city work and makes things work the way they should, and we're just very, very grateful for all of you. Council, are there any conflicts of interest on the agenda tonight with anybody? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as listed.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Connie Archibald and seconded by Wes. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes, August 29th, 2023. Council?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of August 29th, 2023.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Rick and seconded by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this is kind of one of our favorite times of our council meetings. Mark, I can hardly believe that you've been with us for 15 years, but I'll take Lindsay's word for it. Sean, do you want to do this presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to say a few words about Mark.
Let's give that to you.
I can't too,
Actually.
Ken, plug your ears.
You know, I've known Mark for almost 15 years. Mark beat me to the punch and made it here to the city before I did. But there's a few things I think I'd like to let everyone know, and I think some of the council members will know this, but maybe the public doesn't, that I think is great about Mark. Frankly, he's sneaky good at everything, and I think that speaks to just how humble he is. He stepped into the position as assistant city manager and has added so much. Where I'm deficient, he's strong, and it's just been a great partnership, and I've really appreciated him, and I think you know that because you've seen what he's done to sort of elevate Tremont City and strengthen the management team. But even beyond his professional skills, he's really good at sports and athletics, and he just loves it. He started here in Tremont City as the Parks and Recreation Manager, has a degree from the University of Utah in Parks and Rec. And I actually have a minor in Parks and Rec from the U. So I started sort of that same path that Mark did, but Mark finished and I didn't. So anyways, he brings a great skill set to the city, and I just appreciate him. He's a joy to be with, and he's really funny. So if you haven't had a chance to get to know Mark, he's a great conversation, and the community loves him, and I believe treasures him, because many of them know Mark just for all the work that he did in Parks and Rec, and all he did to sort of further and champion, building community and building youth through programming. And like I said, now we're fortunate enough to have him here doing administration. The other thing I just want to mention is he has a degree in public administration from BYU, and I actually do too. Now that I realize that, we have a lot in common, as you can see. So anyways, we have a good time together. He's fabulous.
That's awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Sorry. Michelle, you want to come up here, and we're going to pick on you for a little bit. Sean.
So Shelley's been with the city for 5 years, and we're so grateful for her. She's a joy to work with. She can tackle all tasks that come her way, and lots of things come her way. She's really good with customers. And she does it with a smile on her face, and she keeps smiling. She's very helpful and willing to help with anything that we need done, and she gets us all organized, keeps us all organized in the office, and we're so happy to have her. And then a couple other comments from some other employees. Lindsay says, Michelle is who I go to if I'm having a bad day. She is hilarious and can always make me laugh. She is so thoughtful and interested in what's going on in mine and my family's lives. I absolutely love working with Michelle. And then Cynthia, Shelley is so kind to everyone and genuinely cares about them. When she asks how you are, she really wants to know. She's great working with the public. She handles all the angry calls, that we get a few, and customers, and still has a smile on her face when they leave. She's very competent in her job and is a pleasure to be around. She makes the office a joyful place. We're so glad we have her.
Yay, Michelle. I just want to tell each and every one of you, thank you. I couldn't have made it through the last 40 days without your love and support, and you're really, truly a family. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate, Mark, you and Michelle, we appreciate you so much for everything you do to keep things running and doing it with a smile on your face, and we just appreciate it so much. So with that, let's see. Connie, we have the Box Elder School District here to give us an update on what's going on in the district and around our community. And Connie, I'll let you go ahead, and you work with Heidi. And
Yes, please stand. Last year, we started a new tradition in Tremont City, and that was that we would have a better relationship with Box Elder School District. as it impacts our city so much. The schools are the heart of our city. And so we have invited, I want to introduce the one that's smiling, the big smile, is Heidi Jo West. And she is Assistant Superintendent over elementary education. Amazing. A dear friend of mine. Hard worker. Very smart. So she's going to present tonight some data in regards to our school year and what's going on. Oftentimes we have questions in this room that come to us, and we do not represent the school district here, but we have questions posed by our citizens, and so we like to invite them so they can kind of tell us what's going on as we begin this new school year. Standing next to her is Principal Jacob Balls. He's our new principal at McKinley Elementary. It's where my children went to elementary school. I love McKinley Elementary. It is just love it so much. So welcome, Principal Balls. Next to Principal Balls is Principal Zach Cedarholm. He is the new principal of North Park Elementary. I love North Park too, and I've been there at least 3 or 4 times already this year. And this new principal is leading, and as I visit with some of the teachers, they're telling me that Mr. Cedarholm is really doing a great job with the culture of the school. And next to that principal is the principal on the far end, who's Principal David Lee, dynamic principal of Alice C. Harris Intermediate. We're so grateful to have them here tonight. We're going to turn the time over to them as they visit with us about the data that affects our students and the heart of our city. So Heidi Jo West.
Okay, first I kind of ask each principal to just introduce themselves and something that they're looking forward to for this year or something about their school. So I'll let them each say their names again, and then I'll share some numbers with you. Okay.
So I'm Jake Balls. Go by Mr. B at school. It's not quite as funny. But one thing we are looking forward to at McKinley Elementary is our theme this year is up. So we want to get better every day, and moving up and upticks is kind of our mantra. And for our students, for our staff, and for myself, just getting better every single day to make us all grow. So.
Good.
All right, my name's Dax Cedarholm. Like Connie said, I am the principal at North Park Elementary. This is my first year there. I was the assistant principal at Golden Spike Elementary in Brigham before that. And one of my big focuses, like Connie said, this year is building a culture at the school. And that culture is a culture of belief. So we're really pushing the students to believe in themselves and for them to know that we believe in them as educators. And so we're doing a lot of activities based on that, trying to involve the community as well in that. Next Thursday, we have a new thing that we're doing. We're calling it Light the Hill. And so I'm going to climb up to the top of Radio Hill with a couple buddies and shine a light down to North Park. And then the kids are going to be there with flashlights shining a light up. So if you want to come to stop at North Park next Thursday, that'll be at 7:45. Have donuts and hot chocolate. So it's a cool little thing that the whole focus of that activity is, again, the belief in the students. That's the theme of that, is helping them believe in themselves and letting them know that we believe in them. So.
What day was that? What day was that?
Thursday.
Thursday. Next Thursday.
Yep. The 28th.
The 28th. Okay.
Hello, thanks for the invite today. First off, I just want to thank you for last year for all the students you recognized, kind of our Students of the Month. That was a neat thing for families, for kids to be recognized, and so appreciate your recognizing and the little gift that you gave each of our kids. You know, it's an honor to be a part of education, because education is what makes all their professions possible. And it's just fun to be a part of what we do. At Harris Intermediate, the world right now is kind of an unkind place. And so, social media, other things, there's just lots of things coming at kids and coming at adults. And so what our focus is kindness and respect. And I think sometimes we say those words, we say kindness, we say respect, and just thinking, well, be more respectful kids, be more respectful adults, whatever. But at our school, what we're trying to do this year is define what that looks like, what that sounds like. One thing that we started this year with some new training is something called a respect agreement. And we use the word respect a lot and kind of almost casually, but I don't think a lot of kids are taught and a lot of adults are taught what that really means and what that is. And so one thing we're doing is each class, the second day of school, went through and defined in a big circle in the classroom something called a respect agreement, where everybody there were certain questions that drive the process, and then they make a document as a class, kind of almost what they live by. And no matter what everybody else is doing in our class, this is what we do, and to kind of help define that. And that's going to kind of drive some of the work that we're going to continue to do. We also do that with our teachers and kind of helping as a community. So despite what's going on in the world and the challenges with our new advisory and other things that we're doing 8 minutes a day, we teach specific skills on how to be kind and how to, no matter what's happening in the world around you, is that you can still choose to be kind. So thank you for letting us be here tonight.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
So I'm a school bus driver, and yes, and many years ago, I drove secondary school, and it was a horrible experience. Okay, so then I went to elementary. Well, this year they gave us both, right? Your school's awesome. Okay, the students, I was scared to death, right? They've been kind. They've been saying thank you as they walk out the door. It's just made it a whole new experience for us as bus drivers. And then you guys have done a good job of keeping them safe when we pull in, so thank you. I don't go to you guys' school, so I can't say anything about yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Another thing that at Box Elder School District that we really appreciate is that subsequent to us coming to visit last year and share some of our numbers, that I believe it was US that first came up with the idea of like, what can we do to support the schools and this whole citizenship recognition? And that has just been incredibly positive in our schools. As you probably know, Dax and Jake are both new to the two elementary schools here in Tremont, but we're really excited about them, the energy that they bring. If you could have seen their interviews, like they blew us out of the water. I was like not an emotional person, but I was trying not to like cry and get weird about it, but it was really exciting. They are amazing men, and I am hoping to see them be at McKinley and North Park for many years to come, because they both bring a lot of strength that's going to make a big difference in those schools. And I also really appreciate the years of experience that David Lee brings, and he's been turning a ship around for us at Harris Intermediate and doing a really great job. So thank you, all three of these principals, and also thank you, City Council, again, for being willing to recognize our students for good citizenship. It means a lot, and some of those students, it really makes a huge difference. They'll always remember coming here to City Council and being recognized for their efforts to be good citizens, so thank you for that. I just kind of want to go over a few things that are changing in Box Elder School District this year. As Brett brought up, or Mr. Rhodes, that we have done double routes this year, and that has not been incredibly popular or well received, and it's hard to do something like that when you know that it needs done and it's going to benefit overall. It's had a lot of impact on elementary because we're starting so much later, but so far we're seeing a lot of really positive things come as a result of that. Some of the barriers that we ran into before that we were hoping would be mitigated and resolved by those staggered start times, we've been able to do that. And so we're really looking forward to that and seeing some really positive things. We had quite a few bus drivers that we lost this year again, and despite the fact that we're trying, to accumulate more bus drivers, we've been able to respond to the impact. I've been hearing a lot about other states that don't provide public transportation to school for their students. Instead, they pay the parents to bring them in, and I'm just grateful that with all the busy schedules that we have, we're still able to offer a bus to students, so that's been a positive thing. Another thing that we've had changed this year is all-day kindergarten for all students. That's something that came down from the state that they provided funding for and said, we're going to give you the full WPU, and with consideration of how much that impacts students long-term in their academic achievement, Box Elder kind of made a few sacrifices to make that available to all students. And logistically, that helps parents because, you know, they don't have to figure out rides to and from school and daycare part of the time and not the other part of the time. It allows parents to be able to have their students there all day with siblings and other children as they so choose. And we have created plans where we will address those students that parents don't want to participate in all day, that they want to transition them in a partial day. And that's been going pretty well too. The number of students requesting partial days is very small right now, but we are happy to help those that are doing it. Something else I wanted to point out is these two gentlemen are the masters of the two schools on this north end that are Title I. So it's kind of interesting that our two Title I schools on the north end both come from Tremont City. But they're doing a great job with that. That comes with a lot of extra responsibilities and some things that can be really tiresome and weigh hard on hearts that care so much about the students that they work with, and they're both doing an outstanding job with that. So we have 3 Title I schools this year in our district, North Park, McKinley, and then on the south end we have Lakeview. So that means that those have they're the 3 schools in our district that have the highest numbers of students qualifying for free and reduced lunch. So, you know, that's something kind of that's important to recognize about these 2 schools and the great work that they're doing. So now I'm going to kind of talk about numbers here. McKinley Elementary has 22 classrooms inside the building, and then they have 5 portable classrooms outside of the building. And 4 of those house the 5th grade classrooms, and 1 is music prep. As far as special education classrooms, of course, they have a resource with special education support, but they have 1 preschool classroom, and at McKinley, they do not have DLI. At North Park, we recently added DLI, so there's 20 classrooms in the building and there's 8 portables outside of the building, and 4 of those are 4th grade and 4 of them are 5th grade, and that's a really great model to put your older kids outside, so it's impressive to see both of these gentlemen are with it and doing what's best for kids. They also have 1 functional skills classroom and 1 preschool classroom that are special education classrooms. We did also have a behavior classroom or early intervention for behaviors or emotional disturbance classroom, but that has recently been moved over to Garland Elementary. We're still supporting those students, but we feel like looking at all of the logistics of that, Garland can do a better job of supporting that for us than North Park can at this time, particularly considering some of the growth and the implementation of DLI and those types of things. So we do have is 3 of those portable classrooms. We're still finishing up, right? We're not quite to occupancy, but we're working really hard on it. And something that's impressive about those teachers at North Park and about Dax's ability to be flexible and respond to tough situations is he's found places in the building for them to be in the interim while those classes are being finished up until they can occupy them. They're looking really nice, and some of the teachers are calling them classroom suites. They just love that they've got AC out there, and it's going to be a really nice classroom for them. So that's great. Also, again, the DLI program is there. We started it a few years ago in 1st grade. Last year we added 2nd. This year we've added 3rd grade. So we have 2 DLI classrooms per grade. They're running a little smaller than what the district would like to see, but that keeps our numbers at the school at a really great average.
Would you explain what DLI is?
Ah, thank you, Connie, for asking that. That's a rookie mistake here, huh? Anytime you have an acronym, and we have a sheet of like 600 acronyms in school that I give to our new principals, like, here's all the ones that you need to know. But DLI is dual language immersion. So that's those students that they spend half of the day in a Spanish classroom where all instruction and all discussion is held in Spanish, and then the other half of the day is in English. And so it's a good opportunity for those students to make available there. So McKinley has 26 teachers with 621 students enrolled. Later we'll kind of look at the trend of enrollment, but that gives them an average of 23.8 students per class. And then North Park has 28 teachers with 639 students enrolled, which is 22.8 students per class. We really like to see those numbers be under 25. So these are really great numbers, especially at North Park, because like I mentioned, and we like to have 60 students in the DLI program. And so to have numbers that low when we're pushing those classrooms a little bit bigger is really encouraging about the school overall. Also, in those numbers, we're not calculating in those special education classrooms, because that would make our numbers look a little better, because, you know, you'll have a special education teacher with like 10 to 14 students. So we didn't put that in there. That's just the gen ed averages. So the North Park DLI has 142 students. What we should see is about 180 for that across those 3 grade levels, but we're not getting complete enrollment yet. And then, of course, you have some retention, but we have 45 of those students are from out of the boundaries of North Park. We have a formula of which students we take first from in the school and then how they accept them from out of boundaries. So North Park students kind of get a preference on getting in, but then there is opportunities for students outside. And then they can bring their siblings. So 5 of those students that are enrolled at the school are siblings of those enrolled in the dual language program. So here I have, it's so awkward, I'm like, I want to talk to you, but I also want to talk to you, but for this, I'm going to turn my back a little bit, so bear with me here. We put this sheet together to just kind of show you what the enrollment's been like, because I know there's been a lot of growth in Tremont and a new house is built, and one of our concerns is like, what are the numbers looking like, and are we kind of outgrowing what we have room for? But this chart will kind of show you, if you follow the blue line, that's McKinley, and so actually McKinley's enrollment is coming down. We're 617, then 649, then 616, 611, I believe, and 621. So that kind of shows us that, like, we really aren't getting a ton of student growth. A colleague of mine said the other day from another school district, she said, we used to calculate homes at the average of 2.8 students per household, and now we're calculating at 0.8 students per household, which is interesting for their growth. But so then on North Park, you'll see that it's on a steady incline, and a contributor of that is if you look at the last 3 years there, that is DLI of adding those extra students too. There is growth there from building, but a lot of that growth comes from the DLI. I'm going to show you something that's really interesting. Last year when I came, I spoke about how every elementary school in the district was down on their enrollment in kindergarten. North Park was the only one that was holding steady. But this year, North Park's down and McKinley's up. So that's just kind of interesting the way it goes in waves. Here on the other side, it just kind of shows you like what the enrollment looks like from McKinley to North Park. And you can kind of see, McKinley is going up and down a little bit like you would expect to see with most of our schools, but because of that DLI, North Park continues to grow. Something else that's pretty exciting about McKinley is they just got their gym redone. It's so bright and welcoming in there. So if you get a chance to see that, it just feels so much nicer. Okay, this is our 5-year kindergarten enrollment from the 2 schools. So you'll notice last year McKinley, that's the one in the green, they were down to 94 students, so they had lost 11 kind of over the trend or the year before. The average was down about 10. And North Park at the beginning of the year actually held at 102, 103, I believe, because I remember it being the same as their highest number. But then this year we're down to that 90. So we are losing quite a bit of enrollment in kindergarten coming in. We have some bubble years that I'll kind of show you district-wide, and it's an interesting thing. This is kind of compares the district, and it's hard to see the spikes here, but you'll notice that although there was a peak there with the district, that both McKinley and North Park did not see a huge peak. And then although the district's dropping off a little bit, we're kind of holding there. It's not the best chart, but it does kind of show you what it looks like. Those schools kind of hold more steady than the growth and the decline we see across the rest of the district. Okay, so this is our overall numbers. And if you look across like Bear River High School over to the right, this is preliminary October 1 numbers. Obviously today's not October 1, so it's not an actual October 1 count, but we're projecting after we've removed the students that don't show up for school. So if you look at Bear River High School, you'll see that last year the numbers were 1178 and now we're 1,213. So they're actually up 35 students, and Box Elder High is as well. If you look down to the bottom to this green part, this is the cohort. So you'll see we have these bubbles of larger groups that are coming through. But if you go across that green all the way across district-wide, you'll see that after that big bubble in 9th grade, the freshmen, we're going down year by year. And then we kind of get a little bit of a bubble there in, I believe that's 3rd grade this year. But we drop back down, and last year and this year we're really low on kindergarten, like our new enrollment coming in. When I look at the enrollment there and kind of how we're fluctuating, I think there's a couple of contributing factors. We're having a hard time getting some kids back, not as much now as it was a couple years ago from COVID, but then also the state passed, this right to choose education, and so we have a few families that are homeschooling. We have a lot more now than we've had in the past. And then again, like I said, a lot of my colleagues that have done studies on the numbers of students per family, it's just declining over time. So, if you look here, these red and black numbers across the bottom tell you how much we're up or down from the average. So this year, we're down in kindergarten 123 from the average, and 97 last year from the average. But this year and last year look pretty similar to one another. So, and then this was just because of the fact that we're rolling out all-day K district or statewide. And Box Elder was able to get on with offering all-day K to all students that want to this year. I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. It's interesting because you'd think before when we had these half-day classes, just the number of classes that we went to, it used to be called all-day K and now they're calling it full-day K as a state. So we had 2 a.m., p.m. in Century and 2 all-day K classes, and now we have 4 all-day classes. So those numbers kind of make sense when you look at that. We've seen the numbers declining. This year we were expecting to add 1 more class in Willard, but we just, again, didn't get the enrollment that we were hoping for. And then, of course, just pointing out that Golden Spike and McKinley, those 2 schools did add an extra classroom. And as I mentioned, McKinley kind of kept their numbers with kindergarten this year, so it's interesting that McKinley and North Park kind of switched on that. But I think that's the last of what I had prepared for you all, but I'm happy to answer questions or get back to you on questions I can't answer right now.
We will continue to have students come on the 3rd of October. We will have the students come in, and we ask the principals to send us the names of those students that, we're talking about students that are respectful, responsible, and safe. And of course, kindness is a well-respected quality characteristic as well. So we will have this room filled to capacity and beyond on the 3rd of October, and we'll start that process and recognize those students one by one. Our mayor does a great job, and he'll recognize those people, those students one by one. We welcome their families. This is a big deal because this is about them as individuals being great examples and being great citizens in Tremont, Utah. So thank you so much, Heidi Jo West, and our principals. Thank you for being here tonight.
And thank you for doing that for us. We have principals across the district that are trying to recognize students for those things in their buildings, but it's just so much more meaningful to their families to be able to come see them recognized by the community. So
It's good
thank
for
you.
us, too.
It
Thank-
is.
It's great.
Thank you,
It's our
Heidi.
favorite one.
Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you. All right. See, Lindsay, I guess we'll turn the time over to you to do the,
Proclamation.
did I see, oh, I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. I missed that one. The yeah.
Okay.
New Hope Crisis Center.
So I'm Megan Talamontes from the New Hope Crisis Center. I'm the director there. And I'd like to start by just sharing some of our stats over the last fiscal year with you all. We responded, and this is from July 22 to June of 23, 5,432 crisis calls in the county. We served 555 women, 96 children, 184 males that were somehow impacted by domestic violence, child abuse, dating violence, or stalking. We assisted 58 victims of sexual assault, 8 children of sexual abuse, and 49 children of physical abuse. In our justice court, we provided services to 219 victims there. And we sheltered 81 women, 3 men, and 24 children in our shelter. And so I'm asking you today, I brought a proclamation that I want to share with you. And it says, whereas 1 in 4 women and 1 in 10 men in Utah will experience domestic violence during their lifetime. Whereas victims should have help to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and domestic abusers should be punished to the full extent of the law. Whereas fleeing domestic violence has caused women and children to be the fastest growing homeless population. And whereas Domestic Violence Month provides an excellent opportunity for the community to recognize this issue and the many victims of this terrible crime and to show support of the numerous organizations and individuals who provide critical advocacy services and assistance to victims. So I ask you, Mayor and council members, if you would join me in officially proclaiming October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
I agree.
I think that would be great.
Okay, and I brought it for you to sign. I brought an extra because I feel like last year you guys wanted one too. Okay. I just give it to you.
You want us to read the proclamation?
I just did.
She just did.
That's what she read.
Oh, that is what, oh, sure you did. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we get to have Lindsay do the canvas with us. Give us the canvas report.
Sure. Right here, so we currently have 4,638 total eligible voters in Tremont City. In this primary election, we had 1,213 ballots cast. 1,203 of those were sent in by mail, and then 10 did come in here on election day and do it in person. So that's a percentage of 26.15% of our voters. What else do you want to know? There was,
So only 10 people came in.
yes, correct.
Wow.
Yeah. That's about what we've seen other years too. There's not a lot that come in, so. They counted 1,053 ballots on election night. A few more were received afterwards, but they were postmarked timely, so they were counted. There were 11 that were not postmarked timely, so they were not counted, so. And then 211 ballots came back in the mail as undeliverable. There was one provisional ballot was all. That was one that came in and voted.
And you said that Paul withdrew before the canvass.
Paul withdrew before the canvass, so we reached out to the county, the Lieutenant Governor's office, who asked us to reach out to our attorney. And it was decided that RJ will move forward on the general election ballot. So there will be 6 candidates still on the general election ballot. So those 6 showing will all move forward to the general election, which will be on November 21st.
Council, do you have any other questions?
Didn't we figure overvotes was
Overvotes is people who voted for more than 3.
more than 3?
And then undervotes are those who voted for 1 or 2, which is fine. You don't have to vote for 3. You can vote for up to 3. So those are ones that opted to just vote for 1 or 2 candidates. And then there is the breakout by different precincts. It's in your packets if you're interested. I did add it to the packet, so.
Okay.
Precinct 1, 2, all the way through 6, so.
All right.
Votes there. Your total numbers are right there for this primary election, so.
All right. Very good. Very good. Thank you. There is no action on that at this point.
Probably do need to make a motion to accept the.
Canvas, that's what I thought. Should we do, I think that would be appropriate at this time to,
I'll make a motion that we accept the canvas report.
I'll second it.
a motion by Wes and seconded by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Lindsay. Okay, we'll move into our public comments. This is an opportunity to address the city council regarding your concerns or ideas, we appreciate it if you would address the council and keep your comments to under 3 minutes. Time is yours.
It's on that number. I added it today when she sent them to me, so.
I think I have.
Michael Lehner, 149 North, 100 West, area in Green Mountain. Mr. Mayor, you wanted to treat people with a kindness on this properties that look like dumps. Why don't we start enforcing the law? Instead of trying to get them to do things nicely, enforce the ordinances that you have.
I wasn't going to, I'm guessing you're expecting me to respond to that. We are, and we have, we've identified, believe, 4 households. Now, there's a difference between somebody that's got some weeds in their yard and people that have yards that are
Yes.
hazard issue or health issue and that kind of thing. I'm sure you're aware of that.
I read the ordinance.
Okay, so we've identified those, I believe, 4 homes, and they have made every effort to clean up their yards. And, well, no, now wait a minute. We've got pictures showing that they have made efforts to clean things up. And so I have to sort of respectfully mention that. Now, you may, if you've got somebody that you feel like you need to, then you can sure come and talk to me.
I will. Chief, welcome to the city.
You gotta be more descriptive.
Okay, the new fire chief. Now you
So,
broke
I
it.
do have that report, and we'll go through that later on all the code enforcement stuff and the people we've referred to courts, so.
Okay, I'll see you later then. Mr. Mayor, you told me that you have a path that was handicap accessible for riding a bike.
I've got a path.
You don't.
Uh,
There is more than just myself that are handicapped, that have special need bikes. And
You can't ride over at Jamie Stevens?
the bike is 42 inches wide.
Okay.
Okay. You guys are saying I just got through doing a nice little ride around the city. Took me 20 minutes. But I will not go on 102. It is a hazard. So the planning commission and everything that says, so we're gonna be doing this for these new developments. Why don't you ask them to start putting or making the streets wide enough for us who have this problem? And so you guys can come in state guidelines of Americans with Disabilities Act.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Actually, the state legislature just, this last legislative session adopted laws that actually reduced the pavement width. And they uniformly did that across the state of Utah. Developers reached out and were concerned that each city had different widths. Ours was greater than the amount that they chose. I can't remember right off the top of the head what it shrunk down to, but I think it was about 5 feet that we lost. So that's a new construction standard that'll be coming forward and coming through the process, but right now it's in effect. So
Okay, I'll look at that ordinance, because I just got through doing Park City Challenge in Jordanelle Dam. 60 miles each time is a rough course. but I had to spend my own time to go up to Park City and train up there and down to the parks in Salt Lake to a train down there, because there's nothing up here to a train with.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, I see the alarm off.
Good evening. I am Janice Seeley, and I'm at 161 North, 570 East. And what I'm coming about is July 4th, we had a city water main line break. And my husband and I, we scooped as fast as we could. It's by our mailbox. And we found out it was bigger than us once we decided this isn't our house, you know. And so we got a pump, and it started pumping the water down the street. And that worked out well. So on July 5th, I called in and I reported it. And the city acknowledged that, yes, it was theirs and they were responsible for it. So one thing that happened was they had to take a piece of my sidewalk, my driveway. Not big, but it's about the size of that desk, which I called and said, what are the plans? And they said, well, we're really busy. Let's give it a week more, you know, and we'll be there. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I recognize how busy construction has been, for sure. So at the end of the month of July, it was time for me to pay my Tremont City bill. So I brought it up again. And they said that they would, I'm a talker. Ooh, okay, so they would come and put my name somewhere and I'd receive a call, which that didn't happen. But I will tell you, somebody came to my house the other day in a bright colored jacket, and I'm like, yes, great. I think I scared that kid to death. He was here to talk about lawn care. So I'm thinking, okay, so my thing is, I don't know where to take it. I know it's probably small potatoes to the city, but it's gonna be a muddy mess come winter. And sometimes I back over that dirt. So I just wanna know what's my next move to get under somebody's and have that changed. Now, I've been to a couple meetings, and I recognize you bring a solution. So my solution is, let me go out, get someone to come in and pay for it, and then I'll hand you the bill and subtract that from my city bill. I like it. I don't know if you can comment now to me or what.
Well,
What's that address again?
Yeah.
161 North?
570 East.
He's your guy.
Oh, you're my guy. Wesley, I'm gonna remember your name.
You want my phone number? I'll give it to you.
You want mine? I'll give you mine.
Nope.
So I would just like some help before winter, however that works.
We'll give Wes the charge to go forward and get this taken care of. If it's our responsibility, we need to get it taken care of, so, yeah.
It came out really fast on July 5th, which I did appreciate to get it stopped, so.
Yeah, we'll get it, we'll go to work on it. Thank you.
And second.
Yeah, Drew, gee.
That wasn't even the dinger, that's your dinger, ding ding.
I don't know.
Okay, we'll close the public comment period. New council business, discussion and consideration of approving the August financial statements.
I went through them, Mayor. I'll make a
Okay, been motioned by
approve
Wes,
the August financial statement.
I'll second.
second by Connie. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and consideration of approving the August warrant register. Council?
I'll make a motion, we accept the warrant register.
I'll second.
Been moved by Brett and was seconded by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution, or pardon me, discussion and consideration of adopting ordinance number 23-04, amending zoning regulations relating to the River's Edge Overlay Zone, REOZ, and the River's Edge Pre-Annexation and Master Agreement, development agreement to accommodate the recordation of a River's Edge Phase 1A, which would develop 14 lots and complete the missing 300 feet of 775 east from approximately 195 north to 287 north. Sean, I think we'll just kind of let you take this one and then
Sure.
we'll go from there.
You know, I would just start out by mentioning that we discussed this at the last city council meeting, so I think the council members are prepped and are aware of the situation. The planning commission reviewed the proposal after conducting a public hearing, and their recommendation was to approve it. And so, with all that said, unless there's questions, city staff would recommend the same. The developer is here if there's questions that he needs to answer. The last piece of it I would just mention is, you know, in anticipating that this would be approved, we've had conversations with the developer about how they could work towards getting it done this year. And, you know, it's my understanding that they're making every effort to try to line it up in this shortened construction season that remains to get it paved. So,
Well, I would like to make a motion in lieu that it's single dwelling unit zoning. I love that. And so I'd like to make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2304 for rezoning River's Edge Master Development Agreement.
I'll second that.
Moved by Brett and seconded by Connie. Let's see, Rick?
Rick, aye.
Brett, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
West Side. One question though, do you think you're gonna get it in for winter?
They're going to try.
Still?
So,
I mean, I'm an aye vote, but.
I've learned, I've come to know this phrase that development is a series of small disasters interrupted by large disasters. So I was out of town last week. We had planned to mobilize last week. We got a little bit of a curveball. I was mentioning before, I don't know if we'll be able to pave the cul-de-sac. We will be able to get road base in the cul-de-sac, but our contractor has told us that they think that they can pave that section. So while we might not be able to pave the cul-de-sac, which obviously we would love to pave the cul-de-sac and get that all done and sell lots. But at the very least, we'll have road base in the cul-de-sac, and they're committing to us that they can pave that.
That they can
Pave the main road, the
Yeah,
north and south road.
connect,
Yeah.
yeah, that section.
That'll be great.
So we are pushing out there. I hope to see some orange jackets out there, like next week at the latest.
I've seen that you've got it, you've had your surveyors there.
Yeah. Yes. Fingers crossed. No more issues with the contractor.
Good deal.
Good luck with contractors.
Yeah. We'll crack the whip, but thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Wes, did you?
I was an aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Good luck, you guys. Got your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
Okay, discussion and consideration of adopting ordinance number 23-05, approving the rules for the governing body. This is something we've been working on. I believe Brett brought this up a few months ago, and I think it's a really good thing for us to kind of go through. I'm hoping that everybody had a chance to review those rules. I think I went through them a couple of times, and personally, I feel very good about, it talks about, the responsibility, our responsibilities, and decorum, and I just think it's a really good thing. Good rules to live by, and so. Any comments or concerns or anything?
I got one question, Mayor, on number 9 on that ensure that all members are provided with annual training on the Open Meetings Act. Is that a?
That is a responsibility that I take on, and we'll wait until after the first of the year when we have, we'll have at least one new council member. And, we'll just wait and see what things, but I think it'd be best to wait until we get our new council on board.
Is it gonna be like a one-day meeting in here, or?
Yeah,
Half a day?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it,
Not a, we might meet an hour early or maybe a couple of hours early or something. Yeah.
On H3, we have a 5-minute rule. I think it needs to be 3 minutes.
I think, and it also is something that I think the mayor has the option to do, but we did go with 5 minutes. We've had 5 minutes in the past, but 3 minutes seems to be sufficient for people to get their point across and if we want to change that to a 3-minute rule, I would be fine with that. So, but I think that's something that there are times when I think we need to let the public have a little more say or a little more time to talk and that kind of thing. And I think that this is something that sort of is up to the mayor to do, but I think the 3-minute guideline would be great. I'm good with that.
Mayor, are you ready for a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion this evening, we adopt ordinance number 23-05, approving the rules of the governing body with the correction on H3.
Okay, we have a motion by Connie. Do we have a second? Second by Brett. Let's see, this is not well, I guess it's do we have to do the individual votes? Okay, let's see. Wes?
Wes, aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
Brett, aye.
Rick, aye.
Discussion and consideration of adopting resolution number 23-56, amending resolution number 23-09, a consultant agreement between Hemco LLC and Tremonton City for lobbying services on state and local government relations and appropriations with the Utah legislature and state government agencies. This is extending the contract, but there's a kind of a caveat here that if we feel like after we kind of get going on this, we've got if we feel like we're not getting sort of the results we feel like we need, we can cancel the contract after a month or so and that kind of thing. So this, just for the public's, so you know what's going on here, we've contracted with this consulting company to go after another $1 million that would be used to go toward water projects that we have both kind of underway right now and some that are kind of new. But these will be a way to pay for these water projects, the ASR project, the equalization basin projects, and maybe some others. But there'll be $1 million there that we're going after. Of course, you know that we got the $2 million earlier on this year, and that will go toward the secondary water project going down Tremont Street in the south side of town. Anyway, that's kind of, I don't know, Sean, do you have anything else to add to that?
I don't, that was a great overview.
So I guess we're waiting to see what you
Is there
think.
an additional cost to this
Mhm.
for the extra $1 million? Or,
Well, it'll be that continued, that fee that they have. But the like I said, the caveat is that they will, if we don't feel like they're being successful in getting this grant, then we can pull out of the agreement.
so remind me, we paid $100,000 somewhere around there.
It's $10,000, yeah, it's 100,000, right?
For the 2 million.
Yes, it was,
Okay, so now an additional amount we're going to need to allocate for this other $1 million, right?
mhm.
And I don't remember hearing anything about what that amount was.
It's $10,000 a month.
It's still that.
Oh.
Mhm. Yeah. You know, what's different about this amendment is what the mayor mentioned is this cancellation of the agreement. And so, you know, right now, we received the $2 million through this contract and through their efforts along with the mayor to put together an application, and that's going to be built out. That's going to build out secondary water service area for this coming summertime or next construction season. And so there's a new opportunity to engage them. And the idea is that we extend the contract with the provision being in this contract, if for some reason that, you know, they aren't able to secure the funds, then we could cancel the contract shortly after we fulfill the first term, the initial term. You know, we can cancel after a month, essentially, is how it's written.
Are they giving us any kind of indication of a timing on how long that might take to secure that
Yeah,
money?
So they feel like November-ish, you know, we should have a pretty good idea next month, I think, possibly, you know, whether this looks like it's going to be successful or not. And then we can, you know, by November, if it doesn't look like it's working, then we just tell them, and then that's the caveat on the agreement. We just pull out of the
So it
agreement.
looks like the agreement goes till November 27th anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And then we have like 1 month after that we can, I believe, to pull out if we don't feel like it's working out.
And they'll be giving us reports on it, correct?
Yeah, he's really good about, and you call him up and he's really good to give us updates on what's going on and that kind of thing, so.
So where's it coming from? What budget line item or?
The water fund, and we did budget this amount in
From the
anticipation
state,
of
you
it.
mean, or from?
You did budget for this.
No, the money that we're spending.
Yeah, our contribution with the final budget, professional services.
So the ASR project is already budgeted, and the equalization basin south of Tremont.
No, I just wanted to know.
Is the $100,000 been pulled
that's
out?
Coming out,
Okay.
so.
It's actually, I think it's only 8 more months of the way they bill.
Correct.
So the rest of the year.
Yeah.
If we were successful in getting the grant, we'd pay two more monthly bills the next fiscal year.
And then you said pull out any time. So in January, if we decide we're done, or?
Well, I think the expectation is if they're successful with this new $1 million opportunity that we're pursuing, that we would pay the entire contract. But if for some reason, you know, they weren't successful and we felt like it was within our interest to, you know, to eliminate the contract or to cancel the contract, we could after November 27th. So we would essentially, if you look at the contract, you see our initial term ends October 27th. And then the idea is that we would at least pay them $10,000 for their efforts, whether they're successful or not. And if they're not successful and you feel like you want to cancel the contract in November, anytime after November 27th, you could.
And it will come back to us or before November to discuss this, right?
We could, we'll watch the calendar, you know, what we're, I think, waiting to hear is what occurs as far as the process and what the outcome is. But we can definitely put it on a future agenda and keep pushing it forward and keeping you posted.
I mean, $100,000 for $1 million, of course, that's great, you know, but I don't want to spend $100,000 for nothing.
Yeah, nobody does.
Yeah. Yeah.
We basically, I mean, what we're doing is we're basically spending 200,000 to get 3.2
Yeah.
million.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Say that again?
We're spending 200,000
You get 3
to
million.
get 3.2 million.
3.2,
Yeah, somewhere around there.
3, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I think just for clarification, I think, and the mayor knows this better than I because he's been working closely in developing the application, but I think the cap is $1 million on this next grant opportunity. So we hit the maximum with the first grant opportunity or funding opportunity with the state, which was 2 million, and we're trying to hit the cap again at $1 million.
Yeah, I'm good with.
How do they feel about it this time around?
On the first go-around, he was like, he was almost certain that he was going to get the money. The reason why we're doing it this way is he's not as certain this time around, but feels really good about it. So that's why that's why we have the option to pull out.
Yeah.
Mayor, you ready?
Yep.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 23-56, amending resolution number 23-09.
Connie,
Yes.
could we add to that just, and that it comes back to the city council
Oh,
in November?
And that we review this as a city council in November
Yeah, before the contracts.
before the contract.
Contract, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll second it then.
I've been motion by Connie and second by Brett. Let's see, Connie, do you want to start us off?
Connie Archibald, aye.
West side.
Rick, I.
Brett, aye.
I didn't know which way you were going
Which
to
way
go.
he's going.
Wait a
Had that look on his face like.
Motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. I think this will, this is a great way to help fund some of these large projects that we've got going on in the city and make it so that we're not encumbering our residents directly for these improvements. Discussion and consideration of approving resolution number 23-57, adopting the revised Tremont City Compensation and Classification Plan. Is this Sean?
Yeah. This is for this is actually classifying different ranges for the planner position. And first, I just wanted to thank you, Council. I know it was a difficult decision, but this is a needed position for the city, and adding this resource will help the city moving forward on all kinds of different issues. So I do appreciate the fact that we have this resource available now. So we're currently recruiting for a planner. The recruitment is for a planner, a senior planner, or we could call it a planner 3. But the job description does say that we could potentially underfill it depending upon who is available and who applies. And so really we'll make the determination based upon our job descriptions for these 3 different positions and how the individual's qualifications line up with those skills and ability and education and years of service. So with that, it's here for you to formally consider. We did approve resources such that we could potentially hire a senior planner. I think that has, someone with more experience has the ability to make potentially the best impact on the situation that we're facing. And so we wanted to recruit for that position, but have options and flexibility if we needed it.
Do you have any questions for Sean, Council?
Find us a good one.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say, just so you know, and the public knows, so we look at, Lindsay does a compensation survey where we have a database that we can pull from, and so we look at comparable entities to determine competitive wages, and so that's how the analysis is done. And then we also look internally and just try to make sure that there's internal equity in how we classify these positions. And so Lindsay does a great job in her analysis and review, and then putting this together in and a package you can review and approve.
Eddie? Make motion, we approve resolution number 23-57.
I'll second it.
Motion by Wes and seconded by Connie. Let's see, Brett, you want to lead us
Brett,
off?
aye.
Connie Archibald, aye.
West side.
Rick, aye.
Thank you. All right, item number 12, continuation of the work session. I don't think there's any items on there that didn't get
one.
resolved. Do you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we resolved this issue with the.
Rick?
Okay. I think we ought to I think we need a little more data, you know. I'd like to know how much, what the difference is if they're at a tier 1, tier 2. You know, can we consider single housing dwelling HOAs separately from multi-housing? You know, that may be a way of separating them out so that it's fair. And then anyone that's a single dwelling housing HOA would fall under this rule versus multi-housing. And as I looked at it with $10 per hookup, I really don't know that we're talking a big difference in the price. But it would be nice to know if Paul could pull together for us how much the tier 5 bill is versus the tier 1 with, you know,
Well,
each
yeah.
individual.
and
It
so
would be nice to see that.
We kind of know the gallons that are, we know the
Right, we
usage.
do.
And so it should be just a fairly simple calculation to go through and do a spreadsheet
Paul could
showing the
do that
two
for
different
us, yeah.
options and everything. I think that's doable. That we could
and
put
look
something
at
like
it.
that together.
And, you know, and I don't know what your feelings are on the single dwelling housing HOA. Anyway, that's one way I could think we could separate it out equally and fairly, but I'd like to see what the dollar amount really comes down to.
But Brett, that would require that there be meters in every home, no?
Not really, no. They have, let's say they have 40 units, this is their total bill,
Divided up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Well, I think, and then what you're saying is maybe backing off on the tiers. Did I understand you right on that?
yes, possibly.
Yeah. I think the main thing is to do just like what you said and just do this comparison.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of
Right.
see where we're at. Sort of like a benefit cost sort of a thing, you know, and yeah, I think that's doable. I don't see any issue with that at all. So.
You okay with that, Sean?
We can look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is it different from what Paul?
Yeah.
I think it's just showing the comparison. So just side by side, or you know, showing what it would be if it was, you know.
They're saying they're at tier 5 and they would like to have it at tier 1. Okay.
Mhm.
So what does that mean? You know, in a dollar amount versus what they're actually being charged. And we throw into their $10 per unit
Yeah.
hookup. You know, and I'm sure I could probably sit down and figure it out.
Yeah. I think that's what he did, but we can
Showed that to me,
clarify.
and I did not see what their current
Maybe
cost
what
is
he
versus
showed
what their
us.
new one will be.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Well, the current cost is in green,
Right?
and the new cost.
Is in the purple or
So
lavender.
What's the new cost? That would be if we dropped it down.
If it were $10 base rate for 18 homes, and they were paying based off the average use.
At a tier 1 or tier 2, right?
The usage per unit, which would be I think it goes to 30,000 gallons. So the only time it goes up would be when that water leak, possibly. Like
Yes.
July and August
Yeah.
of 23.
Oh, where you had 40,000 gallons.
Every other
Yeah.
time they'd be in tier 1.
Yeah, they're always in tier 1. So we're looking at, I don't know. Well, we can look at it. Maybe we can put it together the way you're.
No, this is what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Oh.
It just wasn't explained that way, and so.
Be interesting to see how it would play out, though, for some of these other developments. And I think one thing that's kind of unique is is these guys have small yards, but individually, but they actually, when you think about the common area that they have, they're larger, their yards are a lot larger. And so you know,
Yeah, but
they
that seems to me
collectively.
like that would be an HOA perk, you know, the common area that they're all paying
The
for
perk,
that.
but who's gonna pay?
Yeah,
Well, that's what the homeowners need to pay for that perk, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying they don't really have small yards in this, when you factor in all the common area that's being irrigated.
Take what the HOA's not in front of your house and divide that by 18 lawns.
Yeah, yeah.
We're coming up the same size lawn of like what I have.
So it's $8 more a month.
Yeah, yes.
So
All right.
I use a bunch of
We
water.
can, we can do some more analysis though and try to look at it different
It's fine.
ways.
I just figured out it's $38 per user right now, and it's $30 if they had it the way they want it. That's only $8 a month. But if we wanted to try making it, if we wanted to try to meet their needs, that's one way I think we could do it, is do single dwelling HOA. You know, we could set up something along that lines. And is there any other single dwelling HOAs in the community?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's in Archibald Estates, they have one. And you're just saying that they're single-family detached, is that what you're saying in an HOA?
Yeah.
So a single dwelling house.
Visionaries got it. I
Yeah.
think them guys are gonna put them out in, no, they're not. Let me think.
There's a potential for more, but that's what presently we have.
But, you know, in the future, with the developments, we can insist on, you know, having a meter on it, every one of them. So that doesn't become an issue, right?
Well, we
But the HOA is
could.
gonna pay that bill.
Yeah. I mean, there's still probably going to be common areas. I mean, that's typically why you have an HOA.
I don't think it can work any other way but that. Just 1 meter and they just have to split that out. And you're not talking a big difference.
Yeah, yeah, I don't
And
know
that's
that
the
it's
part
really
of an
that
HOA that
big a deal.
I would want to pay for. I don't want them to mess with my water bill every month or whatever. I just think that it's there. That's what I paid in an HOA for.
August.
My water bill goes up in June, July and August, and so do theirs. But we can look. I'm not opposed to looking.
All right.
Well, and I guess what I was confused about is what follow-up were we supposed to do from that discussion?
Yeah, and I'm glad you're having the conversation because I think we need to figure out how to discuss it and come to a decision. And I think potentially looking at, as Connie mentioned, she went out and looked at some of these other developments, because this isn't a policy, as we all talked and openly admitted about Spring Acres. It's about much more than that. So I think we should take a look at some of these other developments before we consider changing the policy. In my mind, a big part of this is the common areas, because, you know, whether you individually own a lot and you have more area, all of these, what I think, why you have an HOA and why there's this, a need for an HOA typically is you have common areas that homeowners own together and are responsible for maintaining. And so I think that needs to play into it. And it's, so we'll take a look at all these other ones. I'll have Paul do it and we could start to see what seems fair and how a policy might affect all of those within that classification.
And our commercial rate is a little higher than the residential rate, is it not?
For secondary water, it's the same.
It's all the same.
Same.
All the same.
You know, we're talking, Brett, that when we get secondary on that south end and somewhere along the way on the north. People that come down fill water trucks for things like that. Right now, we have to do culinary, but here, when we get that secondary on that south end, we're gonna put a dump that they can go get that water. So,
Okay, I guess I just want to I don't want to leave that hanging. I want to, let's
Yeah.
come up with some kind of answer for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the biggest thing is just, they have 1 meter, and so if it goes over whatever gallons it is, then that's what they're paying for, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And I think that's what they were just looking at, was trying to figure out, can we just divide it? And so, you know, to get down, instead of having them pay the 5 tier, be down at the 1, you know, per individual house. And so we just have to look and see if that's what we're willing to do with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So according to this,
Might be
they're
only
only,
jumped
they're
up
only
to-
paying in tier 2.
And
Is
when
that
they,
correct?
when they had the break in the line,
They're paying tier 1 because their usage.
Right.
First column. Once it hits over 30,000, it goes to tier 2 and up and up. Tier 5 is 120,000 gallons.
And what's the price on a
It's twice. It's well over twice. So it's 125. I'm thinking it was for tier 4, because I thought that's what they claimed, it was tier 4. The last time when we met them at DRC, I think they said it was tier 4. Now, maybe it's jumped to tier 5 now, but it used to be tier 4, and I believe it was $3.75, if my memory serving me right. $1.25. So that was tier 4. And then tier 5 is, again, I think it was 50 cents more than that.
Or do you pay
And tier 2 is up to what?
$1.75.
Yeah, it's
How many
$1.75.
I think it's 30 to 60. And
It
that's
is.
every 30,000 gallons.
It is, every 30,000.
So they'll always be high. Okay.
And they'll keep adding more.
And there's 34 units.
Right. So do we cap out at tier 5?
yes.
They always have a cap.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. It's just,
Good, ain't we?
Let's see, calendar items. Lindsay, do we have anything? We got the farmer's market coming up.
farmer's market, stroll on Main, city council on the 17th.
The giant pumpkin contest, that'll be coming up on the 7th.
I have so there's all these items that are up on the TV. Sean got an email today, just recently, and this might be interesting for the school district too. There's a big warehouse that's going to be just behind the old Lazy Boy facility, mostly in Garland, but some of it will be in Tremont as well. It's the
10%.
learning. They do a lot, they do pretty much all of classroom materials and the desks and the books and the teachers' calendars and just pretty much everything. And it'll be their distribution warehouse here. But there's an open house for them on October 4th from 12 to 2 over on Factory Street in Garland, 415 West Factory Street. in Garland.
October 4th, you said?
October
Yeah.
4th from 12 to 2.
Okay.
This flyer does ask for an RSVP, so
I would like to go to that.
if you want to let us know, we can let them know.
From 12 to 2. And it's where? Where's it going to be located?
415 West Factory Street in Garland.
Okay,
Just across the tracks.
okay.
No farther than across
Be
the
down.
tracks.
I've seen that they're moving dirt. What day of the week is that?
It is October 4th.
It's a
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, okay. That'll be great for me.
Could you give me that address again, please?
415 West Factory Street.
There's one other calendar item that potentially might come. We have an invitation to potentially revisit that conversation and training that we had at the Utah League of Cities and Towns with Dr. Tim Shriver, where he talked about dignity.
The index.
And so we reached out to the U and had a conversation with the president, Mark and I, when we were down at Utah League of Cities and Towns. He encouraged us to reach out to them and see if we could, have an encore performance or bring Dr. Shriver up to Tremont and engage the community in a conversation and potentially multiple communities. And so anyways, we'll follow up when we know more information, but at the very least, if you're interested, I think there's an opportunity for you to go down to the University of Utah on October 20th for a breakfast and listen to Tim Shriver. And I'm trying to get more details on what the program's going to be.
Be awesome. It's fantastic. Our community needs it. So,
All right, yeah.
Can I just share with you an activity that's coming together?
Pardon me?
Can I share an activity that's coming together that will impact this? There's a number of organizations now. There's 5 of us confirmed, possibly 2 more. And in November, we're going to basically have a Babies and Their Families Month. So all these different organizations have activities going on in November. So we're just coordinating a lot of that now, but we have 5 organizations locked in. And so we're looking at using common marketing to get the word out to the public about what's going to be taking place. And just wanted you all aware, Kiwanis Club does their baby care drive every November, the week of Thanksgiving, the Monday before Thanksgiving. The Family Search Center has an activity, baby related, in early November. Habitat for Humanity has their auction in November, and it will emphasize some of the babies and their families. The Tremonton Women's Civic League, we have one committee locked in, and we have a second trying to put something together now, and we're working with others to try and build it even.
Good, thank you.
Get that list to the mayor or somebody, and we can help spread
Yeah,
the word.
if you can get some information to me, I'd appreciate it. Okay.
Is Election Day really the 21st?
yes, it is.
Wow. Not the second Tuesday, huh?
Nope, it is not the second Tuesday.
It's all because of the special election, correct? Yeah.
Special elections.
Yeah. Threw the whole state off.
They what?
Heads.
It threw the whole state off with that special election for whatever reason. I haven't researched it much, but
There won't be a city council that day.
Don't normally have city council that day because it's the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Right.
true, true.
So that'll be the third Tuesday, one of it.
yeah.
Although I believe they said that they're gonna have it at the senior center.
Voting, or, okay.
Voting center will be at the senior center for that election, for those who want to vote in person.
So no city council meetings in November.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just showed-
7th.
Well, we'll have the 7th, won't we?
7th, yeah. I mean,
That's far in advance, so. Put the special dates on.
All right. But there won't be council meeting on the 21st, correct? I think that's what okay. All right. Is there any unfinished business or action items that we need to address? Okay. Mark, did you want to give us an update on the branding? Is there anything there that you wanted to talk about?
Paul got all the decals put on the garbage cans up and down Main Street, so look for those.
Cool. Yeah, you look good. I saw them on your desk this morning. You got them all put on, huh? Good deal.
And the furniture is here. Just needs to be placed.
The furniture is here? Wow, cool. All right, reports and comments. Fraud risk assessment. Let's see, Sean, do you want to bring?
Sure. This is a program and requirement that that the city evaluate its fraud risk annually and then take steps to reduce the risk. And recently, maybe it's been 6 months ago, we adopted some policies aimed at, again, to help reduce the risk of fraud. This is an assessment that our finance director did. We did score, I think, very low in our assessment, self-evaluation of our fraud risk. And so part of the requirement is to make you aware of this evaluation that occurs annually and to provide the evaluation to you. There's no formal action that's needed. It's just for your information.
So what are the areas, no? Those two right there, 8 and 9?
Right, and Curtis Phil's, we can look at it. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it, and, there's trade-offs, and, he felt like for where the city's at in its evolution and what those measures would do as far as requirements to implement and what we'd gain from them, he wasn't recommending that we implement this formal audit committee. But we continue to figure out, ways to make the funds safer and to reduce any risk of fraud. Not only for our money, but for, we have red flag rules that we look at for payments that come in to the city, our residents' payments. So we're doing what we can to minimize any kinds of fraud that would be, in the city's course of business.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the update on that. It's good information to have. Okay, DRC, give us a brief update on
Yeah.
what's going on with Jack in the Box and.
We had a really good first review with the Development Review Committee and just talked about things that they needed to address in their site plan. They're going to reevaluate and submit a second submittal. Their hope is to, in fact, I think they decided that they're going to go ahead and move forward with designing the plans, because the actual plans weren't going to change as far as the building plans. It was just going to be site improvements and how those site improvements were what they would need to do to meet the code. So they are moving forward. They felt like they would go ahead and construct, I think, as soon as they could get the approvals. So I think they're working on 14 throughout the state, if I remember right. And
14 throughout the state. Really excited to bring it to Tremont. The design, the actual design of the building itself will be the new design for Jack in the Box. And
And we're looking actually this as a catalyst to sort of address other issues on the adjacent property. For example, Miller Gas has Jersey barriers, and so that divides the property. Now they'll have a landscape buffer, and so we're working with Millers to remove the Jersey barriers. There's some other issues with that we're working on with the code enforcement, trying to clean up the backside of that property in Western Inn. It's kind of forgotten. So I think this is an opportunity to help be a catalyst to improve the adjacent properties as well. So.
Good. Be fun to see them come into town.
Yeah, the other thing I was just going to mention is we are starting to see interest in recording subdivisions. As you know, it looks like River's Edge is going to record a phase that includes 14 lots. I can't remember what Harvest Acres Phase 2 is. It's at least 14. I think it was closer to 20 plus lots. These are single-family homes, and there's several other subdivisions that I anticipate being recorded too in the next little bit. I think most of those subdivisions, the improvements have been constructed, and they do that as an effort to reduce the amount of financial guarantee that they need to place with the city to make sure that they construct all those public improvements. So there's there's at least probably 4 subdivisions that'll be recorded, I would anticipate, in the next 3 to 4 months. So we'll see what that happens, what that brings as far as building permits in the upcoming
Yeah.
construction season.
Okay. Let's see, department head reports. Dustin, you want to start off? And then Brady, if you can give us an update on what's going on, just go down the list, I guess.
So I will start with, I don't think this is on.
Smart guy. All right, so first things first, code summary. I'm not sure if Greg gave you guys a copy of these reports.
No.
I'd have to see.
Okay, let me
Yeah.
bring him up.
He
I've
he
had
shared with us
conversations.
some information, lots of pictures.
Yeah.
All these, yeah, no, these, yeah, some of these pictures and stuff like that he shared with us.
Okay, so he's pretty much a one-man army. He's made a lot of progress. There's a ton of referrals to the court. I just kind of want to remind people the process. So first, we have to investigate the complaint, see if it's valid. From there, we'll go ahead and try to make contact, give them a warning and a time to do it, and then from there, they'll cite. It's not a cite, it's a referral to the court, and then the court takes it over from there. So they can give them a reasonable amount of time, maybe extend it out further before they take action. If they do fix the problem, a lot of times the judge will just give them a break. So as far as we're concerned, we've been making a lot of progress, getting a lot of things done. And as you can see in the photos, a lot of those problems are going away. And some of those complaints really aren't valid from a code enforcement perspective. So I think Greg's doing a great job, and considering he's solo on this project, he's making a lot of progress. So I just want to let you guys know that. As far as the department, things are good. We had some challenging calls, as you know, this week. We took good care of each other, and we're going to continue to do that. The other thing, I'm actually going to ask for some help from the council, and I want to bring something up. So as we start to implement the new people in our patrol division, we need to obviously be able to purchase equipment. We hit a bump in the road, basically on vehicles. So we were approved for a fund for vehicle, but we're not able to purchase that unless it's on the agenda and approved, and that creates a lot of lag. Normally, it wouldn't be a big issue, but with supply and demand right now, we're running into issues.
We addressed it already.
Yeah, we.
Oh, is that right?
You just
Just a
weren't
little
quite
bit
here
late.
yet.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
You
we've
can buy 'em.
addressed that.
If you can find them, you can buy them with your budget.
Okay, are we-
Amend the policy is
As we
where
amend
we're
the
at.
policy,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, to accommodate this.
With the strike
concern.
coming, and it's even gonna get.
My man, you read my mind. I was going to bring that up as a point. I actually brought Skylar. I mean, he enjoyed the whole meeting for sure, but he was going to present that to you, so I'm glad it passed. So just to be clear, are we good to do that, or do we need to wait?
I think we need to wait until they
Needs to be amended.
officially done, but,
Is that the
let us
next
know.
council meeting then?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
yeah, first of
October.
October, first,
Third.
whatever that is.
It's the 3rd.
3rd of October.
3rd of October.
Okay.
Can we give him permission to buy within his budget?
And if you're okay for it, I can have the policy and you can ratify it on the 3rd, if you want to allow him to move forward.
If that's possible, I think that,
That would be very helpful. We have some vehicles lined up. We had one lined up before. They're just going and they're not coming in. So my concern is by the time we have people out of the academy, we're going to have cars that we're waiting, months and months to get shipped in.
Can we go ahead and, between now and October 3rd, can we buy them until we get that passed?
well, I think,
It's in the
we
budget?
just,
That's what we just.
Yeah,
We're just gonna pass it now and then he'll amend.
and then we'll ratify it in our October 3rd meeting.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful. Awesome.
It's also gonna get Public Works, their other vehicle sooner too, that they're waiting on the ours that they repaired our transmission on last year, so.
Yeah.
As long as the vehicle's falling within the budgeted amount for the vehicle.
And Skylar's the expert on vehicles. Is that going to be a problem? Do you want to come up here?
Yeah. So I've got a bunch of quotes from Crumps and Hanson's, and I believe Young's was the other one. Right now, your give or take 45 grand, 45 to 48 grand on a truck, give or take right now, a little bit. Assistant Chief Crockett, just so you guys are aware, ordered a truck sometime last fall. I believe it was late last fall. And it just showed up to the dealership in the last couple of weeks. And that was $42,000 last year, and the prices have all gone up a little bit. My recommendation, just so you guys kind of know what I've got right now, is they have a Chevy. They're all Chevy trucks that we're looking at. A Chevy custom truck through this particular one through Hanson is 45. That's a 24. It's not even in yet. A 23 through Crumps, which they just got that we ordered last year, is the one that's just over 42. And then there's some rebates going on right now on some GMCs, which are generally nicer than just the Chevy, with some more, I guess, creature comforts. And they're coming in at 45 grand, where the Chevy Customs are coming in at 45 grand. So I've got a lead to be able to get all of those if you guys are good with that.
All of that falls within the budget.
That falls within the
budget.
I'll sit down and talk with them and make sure that that does within the dollar amount, so. And then we have our equipment budget to outfit them, and some of these to help, I guess, move funds around or save a little bit. We're gonna equip his admin trucks, so it would be for like chief, assistant chief, and then we don't have to do a full outfit package and save quite a bit of money that way. So if we need to move stuff a little bit, it'll all fall in with, I believe, what's allocated, so I can get with Mark tomorrow on that, so.
So can we stay local as much as possible?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
I'm happy to do that. The ones, and I like the trucks a little more at Crumps that they've got. Those are the ones where you're getting, that they have in stock right now that they can sell to us 48, 49 grand, so you're 4 grand more on the trucks to stay local.
State
but-
bid?
Yeah, so what they're doing is they're running them through their fleet bids, so, and they're all pretty consistent across the board with the dealerships. It just depends on what VIN number they're quoting you with, and
you're gonna have to decide.
Well,
so.
explain what we save by limiting the outfitting on the vehicle to an.
So roughly, Chief's truck, for example, we're gonna rotate his out, and that's going to Public Works. A new truck's gonna cost $17,000 to $20,000 to outfit, where his as a admin truck, so just lights or radio, basic, no cage, is gonna be under 10 grand. So it's gonna save quite a bit to go to that, and so I think that truck would be a good truck for administrative purposes, and if you guys, it can be used for, like if you guys wanted to go ride around, do things with them a little more comfortable, so. But I'm happy to go to Crumps and I like these trucks, I think they're a lot cooler, but they're 4 grand more, so if you guys are okay with that, then.
Well, it's your budget.
Yep.
Okay, if you designated $50,000 per vehicle, okay, but if you designated 42, then no.
Yep.
I mean, you've got to decide.
Yeah.
That's what I think that's what we're saying here is.
If it's within budget.
I think if we
Per
can support,
vehicle,
if
yeah.
we can support local and if it's reasonable,
Okay.
I think we prefer to support local.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, and not just any local, even Heritage, whoever you get
Yep.
it from, but,
Oh, I'd love to get Fords, I couldn't get them to give me bids, so. I'd love Fords.
Any bids?
No, I called this a few months ago, a couple times, and couldn't get anyone to return my call, so. But, okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That's all I got, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Chief, yeah, Brady?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, and I'll be brief. So far, since I've been here, which is about almost 2 weeks, I had unfortunately already some time scheduled off, so I was gone a little bit last week for some personal reasons, but got all that behind us. I've been working really hard to get caught up, to learn from the current staff on what the compass heading of the fire department has been, where we'd like to be going, and working on that. Also working on the study that has been commissioned by Box Elder County to talk about how all of the different fire departments interact with each other and how we might improve that, and trying to give them the information that they need. We also have one of our individuals has just, as you're probably very aware, has just started paramedic school. His first official day in paramedic school was today, and we're working on our scheduling of his now school schedule, working around the work schedule to try to make sure that we're covering all of our shifts while he's in paramedic school, which will be a huge step forward for Tremont Fire Department.
Mm-hmm. I'll say.
I think that's all, unless you have any questions.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brady. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Let's see. Mark, do you have anything for us? Anything in addition? Sarah, do you have anything for us? Council reports. Rick?
It was a good summer party.
It was.
It's fun. Thank you. The cook's gone, but that's all right.
That's your last summer party, huh, Rick?
It is. Yep. Dang.
Dang. Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Honey?
I have a few things. In as much as it is our last farmer's market, we'll have that farmer's market, is it on the 7th?
Yeah.
I wanted to express thanks to Sarah, all her hard work at the farmer's market. It's been a delightful experience to be a part of that. And I wanted to just bring to your attention two individuals that have really made it great for the children. As they come to the farmer's market, I wanted to mention, and it may be, I wish they were here tonight, but maybe we can invite them another time. But there are two citizens that have come every single solitary farmer's market, and they have provided for the children something to do. It's Joel and Heather Russell, and they have been incredible with providing those children an opportunity to create. Last month they promoted, they had books for every child. You could pick out a book, and the children colored a bookmark, and they just have been delightful in their involvement in the farmers market. So a great big thanks to Joel and Heather for their work to help the children enjoy the farmers market. And secondly, the National Day of Service. We had $1,090 that the citizens donated in cash this year, and we had 3,152 pounds of food or goods given. But one of the better things, having this day of service when we did, matching funds from Western Ag also joined in, and so everything that came in to the pantry, we weighed it, and Western Ag is matching. Because of the time of year that we did this, in September, Western Ag matches whatever has come in. And so it was a great time to do the food pantry or the food drive and honor the National Day of Service. So those are the two items that I wanted to bring up tonight.
Very good. Thanks.
Nope, it was great.
We're good.
Breast awareness next month, and we'll have shirts for that.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for attending this evening, and thank our council for the time and effort that they're putting into making things operate and run, and certainly the staff. Thank you all for all the time and effort that you put into answering questions and doing the things that we do to make this city run a little bit better. With that, I guess I'd take one more motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion adjourned. I think we don't need a vote, but we'll take a vote.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
I got a meeting at 9:30, so.
Jeff, do you want to you'll send me that stuff?
Yeah, by mid-October, we want to try to put together a poster. So it'll list all the organizations, the events that are
Oh,
going on.
that's a good idea.
And
Yeah.
encouraging things, like some are asking for donations, like you just explained for the food pantry. We've been in touch with Carrie, she knows everything that